Please don't look too close to my welds. Promise you're not going to look too close. Well, it's not British, and technically it's not a motorcycle. We're going to do a mini bike, I think, for this week's video. Only because I need to get this thing done. Torque Fest is coming up, and I want to participate in their events. I did a mini bike for it last year with this engine, and it was god-awful. Then I tried to build another frame without a fixture. That was the second one I didn't do with a fixture. Bad idea. And so now I'm going to do this one right. So I've been playing around with proportions. I am going to do a swing arm. I'm going to cheat and use Heim joints. I have a couple sets left from other project, and I just gonna cut some corners and use these for the pivots on the swing arm. It'll work good. You know, I was gonna make like needle bearing, a whole needle bearing setup or bushings or something, but this is just gonna be a lot quicker and easier. So I'm gonna run those. This is a DuroMax 440 block. Completely ridiculous and stupid for a mini bike, but they had this crazy sale, and so I got one, and now I kind of regret it. I mean, it's fun, but makes things kind of difficult. But I did make a custom sprocket because the one that these torque converters come with is so small. I can't remember what the teeth are, but it's so tiny. It was completely unrideable. Like it was a rocket ship, and you just couldn't manage it. So I made a huge sprocket. Again, I don't remember what the teeth change was. I'll have to look, but made it much more manageable. Last night I made a neck. I'll take that apart later and show you, but I made a steering neck that took these little Timken roller bearings I had laying around. I have no idea what these were for, but they fit this bolt perfectly, and so I made a I made a stem to hold the races. So kind of overkill, but it's gonna be cool. I'm going to do 1.25" backbone and then 1-inch hoops, and then we're going to make the swing arm out of this. I made little axle adjusters. These were made for a different project, and I'm going to use them on this mini bike. So I actually do have to like sleeve this to accept the smaller. This is the mini bike axle, so I'll put little plugs in there to adapt it, but it'll work fine. It's going to be overkill. That's going to be kind of the fun part, but these fit this tube perfectly. So, and then I'm going to make a adapter to go from 1-inch exhaust pipe up to this, what is this, 1.5 inches or something like that. I can't remember, but I've got quite a bit of these U-bends, so I'll make a fancy pipe for it. And so it's going to be stupid, but maybe you guys will enjoy it. I'll probably swap bars too at some point, but we'll worry about that later. But I need to get a few more things fabricated. I'm not going to show that part just because it's way too time consuming for little payoff. So I'm going to cut these pieces, slot them for the axle adjustment, and I guess make a bunch of measurements. But yeah, I've been staring at this for a couple days, so hopefully it goes the way I planned it out. I want to keep this video pretty to the point. I don't want to fill it with a bunch of garbage and have it way too long with no real excitement. So because once the frame starts going together, it'll be way more entertaining. I'm trying to get as much done in between. So I apologize for the jumps, but it just really is kind of the easiest way, I think, to handle this. I don't want it to be a multi-part video. It's just I'd like to kind of have a beginning and end to it. I got the neck on the fixture. I had some cones. I just stuck it on since I didn't want to make dummy bushings just for this one. I don't even know what those Timken bearings are from. I just happen to have them around, and they fit that bolt perfectly, so it just kind of all came together for that reason. But I've got the neck in this. I'm using 22 degrees. Where did I make my notes? I measured the rake and trail on that front end when I was sitting at 22. I think it was like 21.9 or something like that. I can't remember, but 22 degrees seemed to be a pretty good number. It should be stable enough. I'm hoping not to hit like super high speeds with this. I'd rather just have a lot of torque and low end power. So I do have I have a center line dropped for kind of keeping the tire line, because the most important thing really is having the sprocket alignment with the wheel being down the center. This engine is super lopsided because of how big it is, so you've got to kind of pay attention to the CVT location more than anything else. So I'm using that. I have got a magnet with another plumb bob coming down so I can measure off the center line, and it's like 3 1/4 inches to the center of the sprocket. So whatever. Anyway, this is about where everything's going to be. So I need to, this afternoon tonight, I'm going to do engine mounts so then I can have a pad, and then I'll get a few more measurements off the engine, and then I may get it out of the way to start, and I'm going to do dual down tubes and then come around and try and keep it as tight to this rear area as I can, which means I'm probably going to do some compound angles. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not gonna, don't hold me to it. You know, whatever I say right now, like, it could change in a moment. So really just comes down to being able to get the engine back out of the frame. So that's going to be the most important, and I don't want it to become super, super big. I have had the engine on here and off here like 20 times. I think I finally have it figured out. The engine is just so wide that it really causes a lot of issue. The most important thing, I think I said this already, was chain alignment. So I'm using my string here, my center line string down below, to get the offset of center line for the rear wheel. I want the wheel to be centered, which then dictates the distance to the sprocket, which then dictates where the engine sits. So I just keep checking I have a plumb bob off the sprocket. I keep checking it. And I think what I'm doing is these two hash lines here. Man, this is really convoluted. This line and this line, it's inch, 2 inches, inch. And that's as narrow I want to go, I think. Traditionally, like if you look at a mini bike, the frame is as wide as the engine, but that thing is just so big that it's just not an option. So I'm going to go super skinny, which means one of the mounting bolts will hang out way out here, and then the other one's going to fall just right here on the inside of the left-hand down tube, or lower cradle tube, whatever you want to call it. So one bolt will sit here, and then one bolt will be clear out here. So when I build the actual engine plate, I'll make sure to gusset it way out on this outer part here. But in order to do what I'm trying to do, it's going to have to just kind of snake this kind of goofy way, I guess. But at this point, I need to come off the neck and then come down, and I'm going to try and do as a tight of a bend as I can. I'd like the engine to sit not too tight. I want everything to look proportionate. I want to be able to get the engine in and out, but I also don't want it to be this huge, giant, overbuilt. You know, the engine's so big, I don't want to have to push the frame outward. And so, yeah, a lot of talking and not a lot happening. So I'm going to just start bending some shit up and see what happens. Okay, I've got two bent up at 75 degrees. The thing I really wanted to make sure was I could have the engine as far forward. I really don't want this down tube to be like reaching way out to the neck. So hopefully once the front end, I don't have this like mile long gap in here. So engine, and then you have to kind of calculate how far back the swing arm is going to start going. So I'm trying not to add too much length here. But I also don't want these to be vertical. So 75 degrees is decent. 80 was going to just be too straight up and down. It was going to keep the engine too close to the wheel. So I think 75 is looking really good. I'm happy. As you can tell, they both match up quite well. So now I just need to start like kind of chipping away up here at where the notch is going to meet the neck, and I don't know, I think that's going to take some time, because I'm really just going to take it easy and just slowly kind of start moving them in. I'm going to do it all with the grinder. I'm not going to try and notch these in the mill or anything. I'm leaving them very long so that way I can decide if I'm going to come back up again behind the cylinder here. So I want to get, actually I might do that first. I'm talking out loud. Hopefully you guys aren't annoyed with me thinking out loud, not talking out loud, but thinking out loud with all these ideas. But now that I'm looking at this, I think I need to have this start kicking up. Should I do Bose Zuku exhaust on it? I gotta trim these, but I did 45 because that's what the cylinder tilts at. So it's 45, the flat section for the engine itself, and then this was the 75 degree up, and then it's 3 degrees tilted inward. And I'm just close to, I don't know if you can see that center line there, but I'm just about to kind of crest over that center line, but I want to get the left side coped or notched or whatever I don't want to get carried away with this side, so I want to get the other one caught up and then decide if I'm going to take this one any further. But you can see the fitment isn't bad. I just went ahead and did all this with the grinder just because it's such a strange angle and just some random size that I took that to. So I just decided to do that. I just stuck a magnet down to butt up against, and then I just kept check, cut, grind, sand, whatever. So I'm happy with the fitment. So now I'm going to jump over and do the other one, and I don't think I'm ready. We got to decide how we're linking the back section. It'll be kind of under the seat, I think. Let's proceed. I'll get this other notch done, and then I think we're going to be bending this again at back to 90, which would be another 45, right? I'm really afraid that this thing's going to get too long. This is going to have these tabs from other projects, but this is what the swing arm's going to go to. And I don't know if it'll go to the rails themselves or if I'll have a crossover and then it'll attach to that. But, trying to make life easy by using some of this shit I've got laying around. I got this one all chopped up and they match pretty close. They're not perfect yet. Like I said, I wanted to kind of refine it later, but it needed to be close. But both down tubes match up. Lengths are the same as far as where the bends begin and end. So what we need to do now is decide. The head slopes back at like a 45. That's why we did these at 45. And now we need to know when we're coming back up vertical. And so I don't know. If I was going to make a bunch of these, I would spend more time and make like permanent holders. But this is going to be the only one of these I make. So I don't really want to do that. But I can't put the engine back in here to measure. So I'm actually going to have to just measure off the engine itself and guesstimate where it comes up, 45 for how long, and then come up, and I'll be right behind the head here, so it'll come right up through here. Don't put a big block in a mini bike. It's stupid. I really, really don't like this idea, but whatever. I'm using the CT bender, CT Newman. Christopher Newman. I really like this thing. It's awesome. It's really easy to use, and I love that it's vertical. And then obviously having the hydraulic pump on it makes it much easier. But yeah, so that's what I'm bending on. But I am not experienced enough with bending to even remotely show you what I'm doing. It takes me way too long because I'm very unsure. But a mini bike is a great opportunity to practice. I'm not good at just randomly practicing on nothing. I have to be doing something in order for me to stay focused on it. So that's why that's why this mini bike is being made. So it's just more chances for me to practice bends and kind of get an understanding of what I'm doing. I don't know how I feel. I did some math. I'm getting pretty long. It's not what I really wanted. I was really hoping the swing arm pivot would be like right up underneath the cylinder, like right up in here. And it really got pushed back, which obviously it's fine. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it, because in order to get the frame or the engine in and out, it's like, I don't know, it's getting complicated because I can't have it too far forward, I can't have it too far back. I don't know. I'm sure somebody else could have done it, differently. At this point, what I want to do is not drop things. I want to get this, it's getting late, so I want to get a few things like tied together tonight. So I made this little spacer. It's I think 3 inches center to center. And so I've got this little spacer deal. So I'm going to tie this in just to get the two halves together. I'd probably just stick it, somewhere right in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack here, tack up here. I'm going to leave this. The more I think about it, with this being pretty thin wall stuff, what I learned on the blue frame was I blew through, like if I really tapered this and shaped it, it wouldn't matter because I blew right through it when I welded it. So I'm just going to leave it. I'm really happy. I did some measuring. It is pretty even. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as is. I'll have to pinch it and hold it in place, but it's pretty true. I'm satisfied with it. It comes in right below this like lipped area. It's Friday night. I need to actually make some money tomorrow, so I'll work on customer stuff tomorrow for about half the day, and then the other half into the night I will work on this again. And then maybe if I have to, I'll finish up Sunday morning. But I want to upload this Monday, so I might be able to get it done. We'll see. This is kind of a fun little challenge now that I'm thinking about it. I threw another brace in there at the top and then just lobbed the top 2 tubes off. And then I've just got this one sitting here for now. I don't know, guys. I'm not super stoked. I was really, in my head, I had this line way up here and kind of coming up, and I could push the tire further forward, and it just didn't work out that way. So it is what it is. I did start, I slotted the 2 rectangular tubes for the swing arm. The one thing I didn't really think about and calculate was the width of the axle, and so kind of got myself in a predicament. I've just cut a few threads sticking out. I think I have the solution. We'll see if it works out, but I'm working it in my head right now. The thing I'm trying to figure out at this point, my chain slack. I don't know if I can do this one-handed. So when the chain's tight, I've got just the right gap of the wheel. I should be able to run it that close and not have any issue. But when the swing arm, if it were up, like so, that's kind of where I'm pointing. So I'm still going to point right at the rear section of the CVT, the rear pivot point, obviously where the sprocket rides. That's going to be kind of the pivoting area. That's where I'm going to be either right behind it or somewhere in that zone. So I have to figure out how to transition from this rectangular tube to 1 inch for the Heim. I want it to look clean, so I need to figure out how to kind of adapt from rectangular to round to here. So I'm going to play around with some ideas. These are Royal Enfield Interceptor shocks. That's what I'm going to run. It's going to be super overkill, but it'll be cool. I'm excited about that. It'll look obnoxious, but got those, so that's what... We're getting close. So I just get to play a stupid game of trying to figure out a way that doesn't look horrible. But wish me luck. Once I get an idea, I'll show you. Okay, I was zooming, so you didn't get to see any of what I just did. I opened up the outer side holes to allow the whole head of the axle bolt to fit down through. Then my adjuster blocks, I made those holes bigger and to accept the head of the axle. Then I made a spacer that's half the width, which would be a ½ inch, to stop it. And so that's what it sits against. So there's a ½ inch space being held up inside the actual swing arm. Then I just made a little spacer that evenly split both sides. You can kind of still see how the concept. We still need to put our bolts in and the end caps. But that's what I did. And then I was really struggling with tying it together because I needed to move everything back again because I screwed up the frame lines down through here. So because of that, I had to really kind of change up the design of the swing arm, and I didn't want to go up anymore. And it was kind of a mess. So what I ended up doing was just notching the rectangular tube to accept a 1-inch tube. And what I'll do is I'll probably cap this. I'll either do an angle cut, which I don't think I want to do that. I think I'm just going to cap it. It's fine. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing. It's a mini bike. I've got these slugs from hole saws. And so once I clean, I'll get it all welded up, and then I will plug the end and then weld it up again. So then that way it's got this nice like cap to it. So that way you can't even tell where those meet. I'm not super happy. I've been standing back looking at this. It's chunky, which is kind of cool. It looks overbuilt and beefy, which I always like, but I don't know. It's lazy looking almost. I really wish I would have, if I had more of this rectangular, I would have probably like notched it on the backside and pulled it in, so that at least had like some compound angles to it or something. Anything to make it look a little bit more finished, I guess. But I screwed up dimensions. I ran out of room, and it is what it is. But I'm hoping once the shocks are kind of in the way, it'll be, girthy enough that it'll distract from the parts that I don't like. But right now what's important is getting the swing arm centered. I want the wheel centered. The engine still isn't necessarily in place because I'm going to, once I get everything else, then the engine will be based off of the sprocket. So I'm going to get this thing centered up, and then I still have to decide. I really want to use these Heim joints just for like stability and rigidity, because I kind of contemplated even just doing, something like this, but I'm afraid I just don't like the idea of just riding on bolts. It feels like it would rock and move, and I want it to be really, really stout. So I think I'm going to stick with the Heims. I think I'm just going to have to come off. Maybe something like that. I don't know. Okay, so I've got, I don't know. I'm not super happy about this. I think I might be able to do a bunch of fun gussets and stuff to disguise all this. I don't know. But Heim joints are in place. I've got all of the tabs to kind of hold it on. I think this is going to be pretty good. I mean, again, it's kind of, let me show you. It's got all the travel in the world. It'll never touch the frame. We're nowhere near what the wheelbase was supposed to be. I'm trying to convince myself that I'm okay with that because of stability, maybe? I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's fine. I really don't think this was the best choice here, but I haven't explained. I'm trying to get the mini bike done for TorqueFest, but I need to bring my MIG welder home because I need to put a 4-link on the back of my van. So I'm trying to get this done so I can bring that welder home and get the van done all for the same event. So I don't want to say the word rushed, but I'm a little bit rushed. But I want to do it right, but I'm not gonna waste 5 more hours on something silly, especially on a mini bike. Like it's gonna work. It's already way better than the last one, so I'm okay with it, I guess. I do have this open. I do have this open end here, and I drew a line. I may cut this and like kind of taper up to the round. I think that would make it look a lot nicer. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do it more aggressively. I don't think that would look very good, but I may do that. May cut off the backside, but we'll worry about that when we do all of our final welding. I can't decide if it looks big on camera or small on camera. I need to get it on the ground. I was just about to, but I still have to drill out the old front end to accept the bolt that holds the tapered bearing. So it's now 10 o'clock at night, so I think I'm going to go home. I'm going to start making mistakes. The one thing I think I want to do before we go is I do want to stuff the engine in it. I took the I-beam out from underneath it because I wanted to kind of get a better look as to what was going on. Again, it's a little more square than what I was hoping. And it makes sense because a lot of the mini bikes I see look like this. And obviously, I was trying to do something different. And yet, mine ended up the exact same way. So there's a reason for that. But this top tube kind of intersected nicely where these two down tubes kind of come together. So that looks good. It's clean. It kind of exposes the triple clamp, the stem, which I'm excited about because I was pretty proud of how that came out. There's good gaps. I think I'm going to weld a tab, or it'll pretty much just be like a whole replacement tunnel along the bottom that will sit over top of this. And then that'll allow me to actually bolt it down because it had those stupid little studs in the bottom and it was hokey. So I'm going to just do standard like any other motorcycle or whatever. So plenty of room in front and back. And I'm thinking I'm very happy with the seat placement. I would rather be forward than back, I guess, on this one. And then obviously these big old girthy boys in the back there. I just threw tabs here. I'm going to weld the nut on the back. I think that should be okay. It's a mini bike. It should be fine. So I'm going to weld the bolt on the back side there. Final weld the tab, obviously. And then I took a piece of tube that I just used 1/2-inch bolts. These are metric, so I should have used a different size, but these 1/2-inch were tight enough. So I cut the heads off, pressed them down in this tube, welded up just a few spots. Again, I'll finish weld. And then this is welded to the back there. I'm going to weld a plate. I don't know if it'll be this plate. It's just something I had laying around. I'm either going to weld that plate there to tie everything together, and then along the backside, I do have something a little thicker gauge than this, so I may end up doing something a bit bigger to kind of triangulate this back end. But it'll be nice because this is I don't know if I talked about that. This is just a sissy bar pad. I think they make really cool seats for mini bikes. They usually have some fun patterns if you get the old school ones, but I have a couple others we might look at, but I do like that one a lot. It's kind of the perfect size for this bike. So I'm thinking about loosening this and jumping on the suspension to see if it actually compresses or not. Let's put the engine in first. Let's see what the engine looks like now. Just got it balanced in there. The chain alignment is not good, obviously, but I can't move it over as far as it's supposed to be. It needs to go over about 1 inch, I think. But when I make the engine plate, it will obviously allow the engine to scoot over quite a bit. This engine's incredibly lopsided. I talked about that already, but it kind of all works, It's pretty heavy in the rear end as far as like a lot going on. It's wide. It'll be interesting once the front end is on to see how imbalanced it is, or maybe it'll look good. I don't know. I'm thinking, man, I don't know. I think maybe I'll do that before I do the engine, because if I need to cheat it all the way front or all the way rear, I kind of want to know where my feet are going to go is going to really make a big difference. But I'm going to jump up on the table so you guys can see it from different perspective. But looks better from up above, you know, makes it, actually dwarfs it like a mini bike is supposed to be. So kind of a fun look, you know, the way it triangles back, narrow tank, a little bit wider, kind of like a tapering seat, triangle seat, and then to that super obnoxious wide rear end with the two. In my head, I had these a lot closer together. I thought that would look really neat, you know, almost like tumbling into each other. But obviously, once you start, you know, figuring in where the chain's going to run and all that, that told me what I could and couldn't do real quick. So, I have to make a rear brake hanger. That should be pretty easy. I had made one before and it was a joke. This one will be much better. So, I'll make a heavy-duty brake hanger, and then I'm going to just gusset everywhere I can. Tomorrow, we're going to make the engine mounts. We'll probably put it on the ground first. Sit on it, get some ideas, put it back up here, do the engine mounts. Then, once the engine's in place, we can kind of maybe either do the foot pegs, or I think I talked about the exhaust, but we're going to do an exhaust. I've got a bunch of these, so we're going to go from 1 inch to whatever this is, 1.5 inches, and I'm going to come up with some wacky bend up thing. Depending on where my legs are going to be, I'll probably either go up and around to the front, and then I'm thinking about diving down in between here, and then it would be a bend. Nah, I'm not going to be able to show it, but if I came down and then we 90'd, and then it'd be kind of fun, because again, I don't plan on, like, everything I'm going to be doing is going to be pretty typical. I'm not going to be like jumping over logs or anything, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to have the pipe run down and then maybe protrude out that direction or something and have a little muffler. Maybe have something, you know, like this. But again, it all depends on where my legs are going to be. So if it doesn't stick up in the air, you know, it could very well just live down below, you know, or even come off to the side. Something like that would be kind of neat. But I think I had a longer pipe on it the first time I built this thing. I made this wacky long pipe that went up and around and then came back again, and then there was a cocktail shaker that came out the back here. It was pretty cool, but I think the longer pipe made it scavenge better, and it actually ran better than the other little stubby pipe I had on the last build. So the first one was better than the last one, and so I'm going to go with a long pipe again. And I think running that 1.5 inches would actually be kind of neat, because it'll give it a better tone, I think. I wonder if we could come up. Oh, that'd be kind of fun. I wish I had time to put it outside and show it off and, you know, really get a good look at it for you guys, but we'll have to do that another time, because there's enough stuff left to do that I don't have time to goof off. What I have done since last time we were looking and talking about this is I took it outside without the engine in it, and I just kind of coasted it down the hill a couple times to make sure everything felt really good. And horrible way to judge whether or not it was good. It felt great. I have no idea what that's worth, but I did get to ride it around a little bit, coasting. It feels really stable. I'm happy with it. The suspension cycles well. It's a good size. Now that it's on the ground, I was a little concerned. I was trying to make sure I stayed level-headed with the size. When it's up on everything looks huge up on the frame table. So once it's on the ground, it looks way more mini bike like. It's a little bit longer wheelbase than I was hoping, but I honestly think that's a good thing. I think that's really going to help out with stability. So overall I'm super stoked. It looks good. The rake's good. I screwed the rake. That was my biggest complaint about the last frame I did, was I messed the rake up horrible. I do need to put it back up on the table though, so I'm going to pull the engine back off, pull everything that I can off, pull the front end off, and then get it back on the stem jig or whatever. And then I need to get this foot peg. I'm happy with... I wish the foot peg could be in the middle, but being up there is fine. It'll work. Just enough room to get your feet on it. And I got the lean angle is insane to still not touch the ground, because that was the other issue. My last one would dig into the ground when you just start leaning a little bit. So this foot peg position is going to be far superior. So I want to get the exhaust figured out, and I'll probably go ahead and start doing the rear brake hanger too, the caliper hanger. So I need to get those two things done. So not the best video as far as work being done. It's mostly just little updates, but I've gotten a lot done in the past couple of days, so I'm not even mad about it. So sorry if anybody was here to learn anything, because it's mostly just, hey, look what I did. Okay, it's the end of the day, Sunday. I need to go home and edit this, so this is where we are going to let off. I'll probably do a little sneak feature of the finish of this in another video, because there's just not enough. Well, maybe I'll put it together like a 10-minute one. I'll ride it around. There we go. That'd be kind of cool. But not much to see. Please don't look too close to my welds. Promise you're not going to look too close. But the one thing I did want to show... So I'd made this flange once before. It'd been painted red, so I did clear off some of the paint, but, I was just going to try and get it tacked, and I'll go back. But what I did was I took a chunk of 1 inch. Okay, I took a chunk of 1 inch tubing, and I put it in the press with like a steel cone. For whatever reason, I've got this. And so I pressed the 1 inch over that until I flared it out to the 1.5 inches. So I have a nice little kind of flaring transition, so I'll weld all that up and then buff it out real nice and pretty, so it just kind of quickly balloons out. Now, bigger pipe is less scavenging, so I'm definitely not doing it any favors in that route, but with the length I'm going to have, I think it'll help. So I come out and do a 180 and then into a 90, and then I'm going to have a 45 and come down. And the more I say this, it sounds so ridiculous. But I'm going to have it come down, and then I'm going to sneak this bad boy up underneath. It'll sit further back, obviously. I might sneak it up like in here somewhere and have it like kind of stick out. The carb's there, so I don't know how close I want to have it, but I thought about maybe having it just at an angle up a little bit. But either way, it's going to come down through the center here and then be mounted up underneath. I don't plan on crawling over any logs or anything, so as I say that, I'm scared that that is going to present itself. But yeah, the pipe's going to be pretty silly and fun, very long. I'm hoping with that amount of distance and a muffler, it'll kind of have that in between of some girth to it, you know. I want it to sound throaty, but not be super obnoxious. And, you know, before the first pipe, the long one sounded really good. I liked it a lot. And then the second pipe where it just 180'd out, and then went up in the air. That one sounded awful, and it ran awful. So I'm hoping with this big old swoopy deal, you know, one, I don't burn my leg on it, and two, it sounds good. But my feet are going forward, so my legs should be, you know, up here. So not for the faint of heart, but I will probably use this front mount. I'll make a hanger that will kind of support it. So it'll be bolted here, supported here, and then the muffler underneath I'll use the mount on that. So it'll have 3 points of anchoring, so it shouldn't, you know, rattle and break itself. But anyway, hopefully that was fun for you guys. I just thought I was going to be doing this, so it would make a neat video. It is not Triumph related. It is not motorcycle related. So sorry to anybody who thinks mini bikes are stupid. Just don't watch the video. Again, I'll have an update on it once it's all finished, and I'll ride it around or something. But hopefully that was entertaining, maybe. I don't know. But mini bikes are fun. If you don't have one, you should find one. They're cheap on Facebook, so go get one.